rocking. Is it Friday already? Oh. So show us your colors, going coast to coast. Friday night football, TSN, let's go.
With their playoff spot now.
This off air, we were speculating as to whether or not it would help your chances in the postseason. So I decided to do a little research, David, because I don't like the facts. I like the facts to get in the way of a good story. Is what how I feel. I want evidence before you start telling these football teams. Example of someone doing well or badly and then having reversing their fortunes in the playoffs.
You are truly the facts, and I am truly the feeling. It really is important you win the game because
Tonight,
That's
starting
right.
quarterback.
Starting quarterback. Yeah, nice try, Jock. Here we are, starting quarterbacks, brought to you by Wendy's new bacon portobello mushroom melt. Wendy's. Now that is better. Drew Tate, Matt Nichols, Rod Black, and Dwayne Ford are standing by. Kickoff is next from Edmonton.
Canada, and hello to those of you watching in the United States on the NBC Sports Network. We're on TSN, 23 days away from the 100th Grey Cup. Winter has come early to northern Alberta. Big snowfall, big dump yesterday of white stuff, and might have an effect on the traction tonight. The temperature's not that bad, -4 degrees Celsius. Heck, it's November, it's football, postseason around the corner, and tonight could be a milestone night. Should be a milestone night for John Cornish.
Yeah, the record watch is on John Cornish. 50 yards away from Normie Kwong's record for rushing yards by a Canadian player. They're going to try and get him his touches early for the Edmonton Eskimos. Linebacker J.C. Sherritt has set a blistering pace in terms of tackles all season, 11 away from former Toronto Argonaut and Hamilton Tiger Cat Calvin Tiggle's league record.
Kavis Reed, Edmonton Eskimos. They will head to the playoffs. They just don't know who they will meet. A win tonight, a Saskatchewan loss tomorrow, and they will meet Calgary next week. They lose, they will head to the east and cross over. So, two playoff-bound teams, their fourth meeting of the season on the final weekend of the regular season, and they could meet again next week. Larry Taylor is back, and back in the Stampeder lineup, getting ready for the playoffs. We're underway here, the Battle of Alberta. And Larry Taylor, 7 weeks out of the lineup with a knee injury. It happened on September 7th here at Commonwealth Stadium, and he has a big return to get this one started. We have a flag on the play.
Major foul, face mask. Edmonton number 11. 15 yards at the end of the play. First down.
After a big return from Larry Taylor, Grant Shaw, the kicker, in on the tackle. Comes across the face. That's going to add another 15 yards to what was already great field position provided by Larry Taylor. Looking like he's in playoff form.
53 yards with the penalty, 38-yard return. And Drew Tate gets the start for the Stampeders. Handoff to John Cornish. There's a couple more yards as he again only needs 50 to become the all-time leading single-season Canadian runner.
We saw Drew Tate with the handoff. He makes his first start since July 7th. He played last week, subbing in for Kevin Glenn. Jabari Arthur, the veteran Canadian slot, starts in place of Nick Lewis, who's getting his legs ready to roll for the postseason. We mentioned John Cornish, the CFL's leading rusher, with 1,388 yards coming in.
Having an outstanding season. 6 yards, add another couple. And again, closer and closer. Let's take a look at the starters to watch for Edmonton, brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL and its 8 teams.
And on the other side, we've talked about J.C. Sherritt. He leads the Canadian Football League with 119 tackles this season. Joe Burnett, the corner, is going to flip to the short side this week. He leads the Canadian Football League with 6 interceptions, 2 returned for touchdowns. We'll see a little bit of Marcus Howard tonight. He's been out of the lineup much of the season. 11 quarterback sacks last year, limited to just 1 due to injury this year. They'd love to have him rolling for the playoffs.
Penalty flag flies. Again, Drew Tate gets his first start since week 2 in Toronto when he went down with that dislocated shoulder.
Edmonton number 12. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
A lot of people talked about Drew Tate as we see TJ Hill on the offside. The fact that he might miss the entire season. He's a quick healer. He got back on the sideline. He's been watching the last few weeks. Going to get some significant playing time. The first half for John Huffnagel tonight. Tate looks to the air. There's the rush. And it is caught by Jabari Arthur on the far sideline. And they'll move the football immediately into the red zone.
Jabari Arthur's a guy I'm looking forward to see get a little bit of extended playing time here tonight. A first-round pick back in 2007 out of Akron. Originally went to Akron as a quarterback, converted to the receiver position. Standout career there, but has battled injuries throughout his CFL career. But a guy who I think, if he can stay healthy, will be outstanding in this league.
Tate, deep drop, over the top. Joe West will score. Touchdown, Stampeders.
And the Stampeder offense looking finely tuned. Drew Tate in particular, sharp on that drive, connecting back-to-back with Arthur and West for the major. Just a crossing route here, starts on the right side of your screen. You can see the separation he had already, wide open as he crosses the center of the field. Walks in for 6.
Joe West, his second touchdown as a Stampeder. 4 plays, 42 yards. Cornish moves closer. Stamps get to the end zone.
Thank God.
Number 85 time. He's been out of the lineup the last 4 weeks. Joe West, first-year CFLer. His cousin Doug West in the NBA. His uncle Mark played in the NBA. Weldon Brown on the return. So the issue with the Edmonton Eskimos is they bring Matt Nichols in for his first start since September is to get off to a good start. Quite simply, this season they haven't been able to.
Well, and the hope is that Matt Nichols will pick up where he left off in Montreal. Red hot coming in the second half of that ball game. 9 of 15, 230 yards, 3 touchdown passes as he led that near Edmonton comeback. Kerry Coke career high 6 touchdown catches this season. Look for him a lot with spread stamps and limited action. Jerome Messam starts again this week at running back for Hugh Charles.
Matt Nichols the handoff to last year's most outstanding Canadian, Jerome Messam. Messam goes up the middle. Here are the players to watch for the Calgary Stampeders on D.
And we picked 3 D linemen this week. Anwar Stewart, Defensive Player of the Week, after posting 4 sacks last week against the BC Lions. Charleston Hughes, second in the CFL to the Lions. Karan Williams. Hughes has 11 sacks. Corey Mace, touchdown catch last week, but the big stat with him, started all 18 games after missing all of last season.
Nichols to Fred Stamps. Stamps outside and inside Calgary's territory to their 50-yard line. Chased out of bounds by Eric Fraser, and Matt Nichols, who in less than 10 minutes of work did a lot of this last week against Montreal.
Well, always a safe bet to go to Fred Stamps. Quick hitter in the flat, high percentage throw for the young quarterback Matt Nichols. Let Fred Stamps do the rest for you, making that first tackle or miss. We wonder if the footing might be a little bit of a factor here, Rod, after all the snow the last couple days here in Edmonton.
5-1.
Nichols shotgun again. Play action and hit hard as Shamad Chambers by Brandon Smith, who lays his shoulder into Chambers. Here's Matt Nichols in less than 10 minutes of work.
Yeah, instant offense. Matt Nichols coming off the bench last week in relief of Kerry Joseph. Red hot, completed 60% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, put the Eskimos in a position with a late 2-point convert attempt to go for the win, but unfortunately failed on that final attempt. But nonetheless, this young man acquitted himself very well.
2nd and 10. Looked like someone jumped. Nichols, sidearm to the far side for Nate Kuhorn. Kuhorn can't bring that in. There is a penalty flag on the play, though.
Well, it looked like Charleston Hughes at defensive end got a pretty quick get off there. Was a little bit early.
Offside. Calgary number 39. 5-yard penalty.
Hey, good job, man.
Repeat second down.
Murray Clark is our referee tonight. Charleston Hughes, Stampeders have really gathered some steam over the last couple of months.
Yeah, they sure have. A slow start for this team on both sides of the ball, but led by John Cornish on offense, Charleston Hughes on defense. The Calgary Stampeders got things rolling a little bit and have secured 2nd place in the West Division, a home playoff game next week against either Edmonton or Saskatchewan.
2nd down 5. Nichols, quick hitter again, and dislodging the football. That was Matt Carter, who couldn't hang on. He was hit as soon as the ball was there.
And Matt Carter's looking to run that quick slant, but he runs right into the teeth of this Calgary Stampeder defense, i.e. middle linebacker, Juwan Simpson.
So again, Larry Taylor, who's back in the lineup for the Stampeders at the perfect time heading into the postseason. One of the most dangerous return threats in the league. Not talked about him very much this year because he's been injured. Grant Shaw, ball will bounce out of bounds inside the 15-yard line. 7-0 Calgary early. Wendy's Friday Night Football, 2 men on a mission, 2 JCs. John Cornish and John Cody Sherritt. Everybody was wondering about the JC, whether it was Julius Caesar or Just Crushed. We'll watch the 2 JCs. John Cornish needs 39 yards now to surpass Normie Kwan, all-time Canadian leading rusher. Cornish backfield, and he is wrapped up and brought down. And you would expect a collision between those two at one point tonight. JC meets JC.
Yeah, both men on a collision course with the record books and with one another. You expect John Cornish to get a lot of touches. In contrast, the man spying him, number 47, J.C. Sherritt, middle linebacker of the Edmonton Eskimos. Likely to have plenty of opportunities to make tackles here tonight.
33 yards away now. Sherritt needs 10 tackles. Cornish stuffed. Second down, going nowhere, just barely to the line of scrimmage. It will bring out Rob Maver and the kick team.
Done a great job taking on those double teams by the Eskimos defensive linemen, not allowing themselves to get driven backwards. Creating that wall, preventing John Cornish from getting positive yards on the play.
Here's Rob Maver, averages 43.2. Joe Burnett is back with the win. Burnett back to his 40-yard line. Little cutback. He's got a crease now, and Joe Burnett will give the Eskimos very good field position. Nice return. 8.5 minutes to go, opening quarter. For making sure that you have good traction, you can see some of the snow still on the field. Little ice here and there after the snowfall and the cold over the last couple of days in Edmonton. Advantage, perhaps, offense. Jerome Messam again with Hugh Charles not in the lineup. We talked with Kerry Cope yesterday, a Louisiana guy who said footing is everything, an advantage. Oh.
It definitely changes the game for routes and everything else. It seems like we have another advantage as an offense, not only having the waggle as a slot back, but knowing the route in this kind of conditions and knowing that the DB is going to be even one more step slower than you, you know, and them kind of having a guessing game out there, and then knowing the snow is going to slip them up. And so I think it definitely breeds bigger plays.
Matt Nichols, who can use his feet. About 1.5 yards, maybe 2 yards shy of a first down.
An interesting comment from Kerry Coke about the offense having the advantage, because I think the typical assumption when you get into a bit of a slick field, the outdoor games where the elements at this time of year can become a factor, I think everybody always assumes that it's going to slow down those skill guys and it's going to even the field a little bit, but completely opposite perspective coming from the Eskimo receiver.
Well, this Edmonton offense getting fine-tuned before the postseason. They don't know who they'll play next. And Kavis Reed is going to make a decision on who his quarterback will be in the postseason, based probably on what happens tonight with Matt Nichols. They're going for this 3rd and 3. And they get it. And a guy who did that a whole lot last year, make that Corey Boyd, who did that a lot last year in Toronto, gets the touch.
Yeah,
they go with Messam and Boyd in the backfield tonight.
Well, the two big backs get their shot. Nice cut back there off the backside of that play by Boyd. He knows all he needs is 3 yards, so he sees small gap. He knows he's going to have to BYOB, be his own blocker on one man, but Boyd Lowers his head, uses his size advantage to move the chains.
And a gang tackle this time. Brings down Boyd. You know, a lot of who would have thought this season, who would have thought that Hamilton would have had the kind of year they had, that Winnipeg would have sunk the way they did, that Corey Boyd would not be in Toronto and make a significant contribution, that Jerome Messon would come back here, that Hugh Charles would be the star in the backfield in Edmonton.
Well, such is life in the Canadian Football League.
Nichols, pump fake, hangs in, and a one-hopper in front of Kerry Cope. Watch there by Keon Raymond.
And Kerry Cope been held up slightly in the route. Keon Raymond's just trying to wall him away from the inside. You can see by the posture of Raymond turned out. He recognizes that Coke is probably running an inside route there. Just tried to wall him off. Disturbing the receiver just enough to throw the timing of that route a little bit. Matt Nichol under pressure. Came up short on the throw.
42-yarder for Grant Shaw. Kick is up and just is able to squeeze through. Eskimos had a chance to win 2 games on Grant Shaw late field goals this year, but did not. They get this one. John Cornish will come back on the field shortly, moving closer to the all-time Canadian single-season rushing record. And the CFL's leading rusher, already a nominee for Most Outstanding Canadian with the Stampeders and Most Outstanding Player. A lot of people feel that John Cornish could be one of the finalists come Grey Cup week.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting vote this season. And you know my feelings on throwing out the whole East-West component to the voting and ensuring that you've got your best finalists up for every award. But I mean, John Cornish is a guy who could be a double nominee.
Look out here, Larry Taylor, little cutback. Up near the 47-yard line, 27-yard return.
And there's the updated John Cornish record watch as he chases Normie Kwong's record for most rushing yards by a Canadian. And Rod, you mentioned moments ago the who'd have thought a guy like Corey Boyd would be expendable this season. When you consider, really in the Canadian Football League, American running backs are probably your most plentiful commodity in terms of supply and demand. But then you throw in the surge of outstanding Canadian running backs, and there are even fewer jobs available.
Drew Tate bombs away, and bringing it in is Maurice Price.
A great throw from Drew Tate and a fantastic adjustment to the football by Maurice Price, who has emerged as yet another outstanding big play threat in this Calgary Stampeder offense. Great speed guy. We've seen him the last couple weeks score touchdowns on hitch passes that he's taken to the house. Here going for the bomb over the newcomer Pete Intersagen out on that wide side corner. Intersagen draws into the lineup with Rod Williams out on the other side. Joe Burnett shifts over to the boundary. Intersagen comes in the field corner position.
No Johnny Forzani, no Nick Lewis, no Mark-Wayne McDaniel. Drew Tate bobbles and then throws it. Wisely out of bounds. Question mark 2. We see Maurice Price. Last 2 games, he has been red hot.
Well, red hot in more ways than one. You see the yardage total, 175 yards.
6-3.
Couple of touchdowns. Had that scary moment sliding into the heater on the sideline last week in Calgary.
Romby Bryant turns the corner. Pushed out of bounds. Donovan Alexander there. And looks like he'll move the sticks.
Mo Price gets a nice block for his colleague Romby Bryant on this one. Quick hitch screen to Bryant. Price is going to come from outside in. Gets just enough of his man to impede him from getting to the outside. May have gotten away with one there.
There's Low Price. First and goal, Stampeders. Little draw play for Tate, and he'll score easily. Touchdown, Calgary. Drew Tate has looked very sharp so far here tonight.
Great play call coming there from offensive coordinator Dave Dickinson. Well executed. Quarterback draw, great lead block from his running back, John Cornish. On the linebacker, Munoz allows Tate to go in untouched.
First start since July 7th for Drew Tate. Again, after the dislocated shoulder. He was supposed to be the guy this season in Calgary. Was the guy late last season when the new era began. Stampeders traded away Henry Burris, got back a great insurance policy in Kevin Glenn.
And I called the Charlie.
And again, Drew Tate will play the first half tonight. Kevin Glenn the second. John Huffnagel told me yesterday he will make his decision early next week as to who will play at quarterback, who will start next weekend.
You certainly want to have clarity going into the playoff week for both these guys, and take another look at that great block from the running back, John Cornish. J.C. Sherritt in a little bit of trouble with that footing as he tried to readjust back to the inside. You used to see teams all the time in traditional CFL offenses playing with two running backs. You'd see the lead draw run where the fullback would be the guy lead blocking, quarterback hands off to the tailback. Little adjustment now in the 5 receiver sets that have become the norm in this league. Running back becomes the lead blocker, quarterback's the guy with the rock.
Well, already following trends, the Edmonton Eskimos have been terrible starters in first quarters this season, outscored 70-56. The Stampeders have been the exact opposite, explosive out of the gate, and that's what they've done here so far tonight. Fred Bennett brings down Weldon Brown, and under 3 minutes to go opening quarter, Matt Nichols brings his offense out on the field, down 14-3.
Well, and it's not just about the total first quarter scores for the Edmonton Eskimos. But Rod, you mentioned it when we were off air. The Edmonton Eskimos, the only team in the Canadian Football League to not score a single point on any of their opening drives through 18 games this season.
Absolutely remarkable. 0 touchdowns. Couple of field goal attempts. Kavis Reed talked about it yesterday. Jerome Messam gets the rock again. Talked about getting off to a quick start. They got off to a quick start to start the season, and then they have been reeling really from Labor Day onward. And you go look back at those 2 games back-to-back against Calgary. Winnable games on the last second field goal tries by Grant Shaw. A miss and then an upright that was hit.
2 and 4.
And they end up losing both games.
Yeah, you look at the number of close games this team has lost overall, and it could have been a very different season for the Eskimos.
Inside handoff on the reverse. And around to Fred Stamps.
Well, there is some discussion as to how much Freddie Stamps was actually going to play today. The Eskimos' go-to receiver, perennial 1,000-yard man in this league. Some suggestion that the S were actually going to rest him and not even dress him for this ball game once they had secured a playoff spot with the Hamilton loss last night. We were talking moments ago about the Eskimos in those close games. This is a team that has 5 of their losses came by a total of 7 points. And so much focus goes on a couple of Grant Shaw missed field goals late in those games against Calgary. Obviously a missed 2-point convert attempt last week in Montreal. But you also consider if this team could have gotten off to better starts in some of those games, the endings and outcomes would have been different as well.
Taylor's already had a couple of good returns already. 3rd down and 2. The Eskimos don't gamble this time. So they're scrimmaging from their 28-yard line. And it's going to be an even further kick.
Edmonton number 11. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
And a personnel issue. So they had to let the play clock wind down. This time the Stampeders bring 2 returners out.
And as the Eskimos got their personnel issues straightened out, Bradshaw spending a lot of time in the backfield, just checking his footing, just making sure he's going to be able to get this kickoff with some confidence.
High floating kick. Right near midfield. So John Cornish moves closer to a legend, 33 yards away to break the record. The great irony here tonight is a guy who was a legend in Edmonton, former Eskimo and Stampeder, Normie Kwong.
He had so many yards and he played so many games, but there's really not that much footage. I can't just go on YouTube and look up Normie Kwong like you can nowadays for everybody else. So, you know, I haven't seen too much footage. I have seen some, and he was a hard runner. He was, you know, the China Clipper, as they called him. He was fast, strong. He was pretty agile.
Not sure Normie Kwong caught too many screen passes the way John Cornish did, the way the game has evolved through the years in the Canadian Football League. And Normie Kwong, who was a Stampeder general manager, he was a GM in Calgary when you were there, and started his career in Calgary, went to Edmonton, Hall of Famer in the CFL, a Canada Sports Hall of Fame, Order of Canada member, former Lieutenant Governor of Alberta.
Not just an accomplished football career, but an accomplished life for Normie Kwong.
2nd and 4. Little wildcat here. Mo Price on the reverse penalty flag on the far side.
Tom, I got your spot.
Flag came down early on that play. You wonder with the trick plays if there may have been an issue with the initial formation for Calgary.
Cornish that time taking the direct snap.
Offside. Edmonton number 72. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
Newcomer Alex Daniels, one of the many new faces to come through that Eskimo defensive line over the course of this season. 15 different defensive linemen used by the Eskimos this year. They haven't had a single player who's remained healthy the entire season.
Could be the last play of this opening quarter. 1st and 10. Cornish again. And J.C. Sherritt meets up with him. So 2 men trying to set new CFL records tonight. 1 quarter down. Cornish's Stampeders lead Sherritt's Eskimos 14-3 on Wendy's Friday Night Football. Cold and snowy Edmonton tonight. Cold for the Eskimos again. Their futility in first halves offensively continues.
Yeah, it sure does. Just 3 points posted in the first quarter of this ball game. Matt Nickel not able to pick up where he left off in Montreal last week, where he had those 3 late touchdown passes. Just 1 for 4 in the first quarter of this ball game.
And the big story, of course, John Cornish on the verge of breaking this record. Put this into perspective as a guy who used to run the football at times for the Calgary Stampeders and other teams. What does this record mean to a Canadian-born running back?
Well, obviously a great deal. It's, first of all, hard enough given how many great American running backs are out there. Hard enough for a Canadian to get the opportunity to play that position in this league. You have to be above and beyond better than the American player. John Cornish has proven to be that. And then to go beyond that and to statistically prove himself as the best Canadian at the position ever speaks volumes.
J.C. Sherritt with another tackle. Rob Cote out of the backfield. So Sherritt moves closer to another record that's been long-standing. Calvin Tiggle's record of 129. 18 years ago, Toronto Argonaut.
Well, I know that this is one of those sort of bittersweet records. You know,
Yeah.
it says a lot about the way J.C. Sherritt plays the game. He gets in on every play no matter where the ball goes on the field.
Direct snap again for Cornish. And again, a few more yards closer to the all-time mark.
As you saw, J.C. Sherritt had a shot at John Cornish there. Rare miss for the S middle linebacker.
I think it says a lot, too, though, about J.C. Sherritt. He's the smallest guy tonight, height-wise, on the Eskimos' active roster. He plays with an enormous heart, though.
Well, he sure does. And Kavis Reed talked early in the year about a little bit of history of undersized linebackers here in the Eskimo organization. The one that stands out for me, of course, is the great Willie Pless.
They've had so many outstanding linebackers through the years. Tate to the air. No one home. Broken route. And an incomplete pass.
Well, Drew Tate and Joe West on different pages as they're going to conference with offensive coordinator Dave Dickinson over on the sidelines. Clarifying who had the deep route.
Don't tell John Huffnagel that this is an inconsequential game, by the way. No game, as Huff will tell you, is meaningless. He wants to get this team ready for next week, whoever they will play.
In terms of intensity, some guys can flip the switch on and off. John Huffnagel always on.
Rene Paredes, what an outstanding season he's had. 92.5%. Hits again. 17-3 Stampeders. There's Edwin Harrison, his grandfather, part of the Engraved on a Nation documentary earlier tonight on TSN. The next one upcoming, The Photograph, the Second World War, a dark time for Canada, but a football team made up of young Air Force recruits forged a bond that will mark them for life, inspire a nation, then disappear. All that remains is the silence surrounding what happened to this team in a lone photograph. Next Friday, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, Engraved on a Nation. Early second quarter, final game, regular season. Matt Nichols, another Eastern Washington product like J.C. Sherritt. In fact, he and J.C. Sherritt and Greg Peach all drove up together in a car on their way to Edmonton a couple of years ago, wondering what their future in football might hold. Nichols decides to take off with it. It's a penalty flag, likely against the Eskimos. That was able to open up a lane for Nichols. Past the first down marker.
Holding. Edmonton number 58. 5-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
Left tackle Devin Tyler, guilty party.
And Devin Tyler swinging over to the left side of that offensive line tonight with Orrin Thompson, the S nominee as most outstanding offensive lineman this season. Likely done for the season. Tyler flips over from the right side. Young Matt O'Donnell gets his first CFL start at right tackle, the Queens product.
2nd and 19 for Nichols. Dodges one for Kuhorn, and he barely gets to the original line of scrimmage. Once again, the Eskimos are forced to boot this away.
I'm sure Kavis Reed would like to see Matt Nichols get in some kind of flow in this ball game before he thinks about trying to get some snaps for Stephen Giles as well, which I know is part of the plan. They're trying to have all of their quarterbacks ready going into the playoffs. Kerry Joseph, who had been the starter through much of the second half of the season, recovering just after basically getting beaten up over the course of the last couple of weeks, getting a recovery weekend.
Ball bouncing in front of Keon Raymond. The Eskimos converge and bring him down near the 40-yard line. 14-point Calgary lead on Wendy's Friday Night Football. Magic numbers right now, 23 for John Cornish, 7 for J.C. Sherritt. Let's go to the sideline now and join Ryan Rashog. Ryan?
Yeah, Rod, we asked J.C. Sherritt yesterday if he can keep track in his head during the game of how many tackles he has. He says that's a pretty dangerous game to get into, trying to count your tackles. Said he did it when he was younger, when he was playing minor football, got himself into trouble in doing so. Said the coach gave him heck. He was flying all over the field, getting out of position, just completely obsessed with tackles. He can't do it at this level. This is what I can tell you. Sherritt has had 11 tackles in a CFL game twice. The first game of the season, each of his 2 years here. He's done it before, and the most ever for him, Rod, 24 in one game back in college.
John Cornish again moves closer, but will this be negated? There was a penalty flag back near the 40-yard line. 24 tackles in a game. You wonder, did the other team show up? I guess they had to.
Well, he had to be tackling somebody.
Offside. Edmonton number 75. That penalty's declined.
13 yards that time for Cornish. 10 yards away now.
Big newcomer Cade Weston on the defensive line. The man flag, but John Cornish looks determined to get this record out of the way in a hurry. I suspect the Stamps would like to have him accomplish that and get him to the sidelines a little bit as well.
Drew Tate over the top again. Joe Burnett makes the tackle on Joe West. West, earlier touchdown, again coming back in the lineup, has not played the last 4 games for the Calgary Stampeders. Has had quite a debut season in the Canadian Football League.
Well, such a deep receiving core here in Calgary. One of the things Joe West adds to this lineup, just a little bit more size. 6'1", 215 pounds. Big, strong, physical receiver.
Drew Tate has West in motion. Cornish in the backfield. Again, the play action. Leaping high in the sky, but unable to come down with it. An overthrow. Looking for Maurice Price on the far side. Tate wearing that dark visor as a quarterback.
Well, after that quick start for Drew Tate, still looking like he's trying to find a groove. You got to bear in mind, this is a guy split the reps last week. They alternated every 2 series. Did he and Kevin Glenn at quarterback, but really hasn't played this consistent a stretch since that injury back in July in Toronto.
Tate, and another drop here. Jabari Arthur. Tate took a shot to his throwing hand as he delivered that football. Incomplete pass again. Drew Tate, I'll tell you what, is, for a guy who hasn't played in a while, certainly barking out, taking leadership in that huddle.
Well, no question, that's a part of Drew Tate's personality. Son of a football coach growing up. Very much in his nature.
Rene Paredes, this would match his longest of the season, 46. And he's been doing nothing but this. What a terrific season for El Matador. (20-3), Stampeders laying it on the Eskimos here, first half. Matt Nichols going deep for Fred Stamps, turned around and went the wrong way and then had to come back. That ball off target.
And no doubt a matchup the Edmonton Eskimos were looking for. Matt Nichols finally gets Fred Stamps isolated, looking to go to his big play guy to try and make something happen. Giving Stamps basically half the field to work with, telling him just get open. See, he gives a couple moves to the corner, Fred Stamps, or excuse me, Fred Bennett, but unable to shake him.
Second down and 10. Here's the rush. Nichols stays on his feet. Now he heaves it downfield and picked off. And might have thought better of throwing that one, because Bennett this time comes away with the football. And he really threw that one away. And Bennett has the pick.
You can chalk this one up to Matt Nichols' youth. Excited about escaping here and desperately trying to make something happen for his team, which has struggled offensively in this ball game. Tried to force it downfield. He saw a couple green jerseys in Henry and Stamps in the area. But a play where he's got to be sure with the throw, or else just pull it down, run, get what you can, or quite frankly, throw it away and avoid the sack. Protect your field position.
Drew Tate again, play action to Cornish, and pitches it to the sideline. Penalty flag down near the 45-yard line. Fred Bennett's second interception. His first season with the Stampeders. See what this flag is about.
This how we do, baby. One more step to that, they ain't gonna play off, baby. South Cac, baby, all day, baby. We trying to get it. We trying to get it. Point blank, period.
Former fourth-round pick of the Houston Texans. South Carolina, Fred Bennett.
Woo. Already, baby. You already know what it is.
Bennett and Quincy Butler, two newcomers, solidified the wide side of that Stampeder secondary this season.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Calgary number 66. 15 yards from the end of the play, second down.
Stanley Bryant. That's a big penalty.
Bryant, right tackle for the Calgary Stampeders. Charged with a chop block here, you see, as he got on the legs of Ted Laurent, the Russian defensive tackle.
2nd and 25, John Cornish. 10 away. Not getting away this time. Wrapped up, brought down. Stamps will have to kick. And I'm sure if John Huffnagel would have his druthers, he would like to see John Cornish get this record as soon as possible and get him ready for the postseason.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I'm not sure he would necessarily sit him entirely. But absolutely, John Cornish, guy who's been your best player this season, most outstanding player nominee. You want to protect your assets going into the most critical time of year.
Yeah, there's fine-tuning, but you do not want to get banged up. And timeout. Edmonton. They couldn't get their players off the field fast enough. Mike Miller had to scurry off, so they had to burn a timeout here with 7.5 to go before halftime. Most difficult job in Edmonton these days has been the travel agent for the Eskimos. They don't know where they're going. In fact, even up until last night, they weren't exactly positive they would be in the postseason. They needed a win by Toronto. They got that. They could be in Toronto next week. They also could be down the road, down Highway 2 in Calgary next week as well. Neighbors kick. Collecting it is Burnett. There's a no yards call. That's a 15-yard penalty. A 17-point game. After the 15-yard no yards penalty, the Eskimos scrimmage now down to 20-3. Just inside their territory on the 53-yard line. Calvin McCarty can't hold on.
And there's no question that this is a ball Calvin McCarty's got to have. Hit him right in the chest, and he let it get into the body, into the shoulder pads. But Matt Nichols really zinged this one in there. He saw that window, saw McCarty come open. Put a little bit of heat on that one.
2nd down and 10 again. And Nichols is buried. Calgary Stampeders, who have had 14 sacks in their last 2 games and have gotten closer to the league lead.
Major foul, face mask. Calgary number 39. 15-yard penalty. First down.
So negated that time. Charleston Hughes got a grip on the grill.
Hughes, left defensive end, I'm not convinced that he was the man that got the face mask. It appeared to be Brian Bulkey, number 94. Windsor, Ontario native, played his college football at Stanford.
Bulkey, the penalty, moves the ball to the 42. Nichols, quick hitter. Shamon Chambers. Markham, Ontario native, out of Wilfrid Laurier, first year in the CFL. A rookie moves it close to the first down marker.
Shamon Chambers, first round pick out of Wilfrid Laurier. Eskimos nominee for most outstanding rookie this season.
Pair of touchdowns in his inaugural CFL season. He comes to the short side. Fred Stamps, top of the screen. Second down and 4. They decide to hand it off. Corey Boyd bounces one and then is swallowed up and goes backwards. Eskimos have had a real issue running the football this season. Last year they ran roughshod over a lot of teams. Hugh Charles has been their feature back, but against Calgary in 3 games they've only rushed in total for 92 yards. John Cornish himself in 3 games against Edmonton, 436 yards.
Yeah, night and day, and especially when you consider getting to this time of year, the importance of that ground game, not just because of the weather, but also in terms of being able to close out games.
They're going for it, 3rd and 3, why not? Last game regular season, looked like a jump there, a penalty. There is a flag, likely offside here, because Matt Nichols is hoping it's against Calgary because he was going nowhere. Looked like the Stampeders got a head start, but were they drawn offside?
Offside. Calgary number 97. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Anwar Stewart hoping that sometimes the veteran will get the benefit of the doubt, but not this time. He jumps past the tackle. Devin Tyler before the ball is even up. Anwar's so excited about his 4 sacks last week. Looking to add to that total.
Fresh set of downs now. Nichols looking in, zone's got Fred Stamps, who's got a touchdown.
It's a beautiful read and a beautiful ball from Matt Nichols to Fred Stamps. Touchdown number 9 on the season for Freddie Stamps. Great pre-snap recognition. He knows right away, there's my guy. Puts it up just as he knows he's about to break past the defender. Good recognition, right on the money, hitting Fred Stamps in traffic, in stride.
Fred Stamps had such a slow start to this season. Averaged about 20 yards receiving the first 4 games. Didn't get his first touchdown until game 5.
Happy birthday to my grandfather, Willie Khalif. Love you, baby.
Well, happy birthday, Gramps. And you'd be proud because Fred Stamps does it again.
And you'll see the timing here. Just as Fred Stamps gets that inside position, Matt Nichols knows he's won this route. Ball goes in the air and just right on the money.
Remember those early weeks when we were talking about Fred Stamps, and one of the reasons he was really struggling is that there was no continuity in the Eskimos offense, and number 2 was seemingly lost out there. They couldn't get the ball to him. Well, he had another huge season, over 1,000 yards again, 6th in the league in receiving. He had another Fred Stamps season.
Yeah, absolutely. And
There were so many people.
you look at the guys who are the perennial 1,000-yard receivers in this league. G. Roy Simon losing a number of games to injury this year. It becomes Fred Stamps, Jamel Richardson, and of course Nick Lewis of the Calgary Stampeders. The only guys in the league who have had 1,000 yards each of the last 4 seasons in the CFL.
Larry Taylor goes back near his 15-yard line. Under 5 minutes to go before halftime. 20-10 Stampeder lead. And again, Keon Raymond, Calvin McCarty is there, and a number of other Eskimos. So will this be the drive that John Cornish surpasses Normie Kwong in the record books?
Well, 10 to go for John Cornish. What's been a good first half for him thus far. 40 yards on the ground so far for the Stampeder running back.
There have been so many great running backs in that era at the time. Normie Kwong and Jerry James, of course. Orville Lee was on the list. Sean Millington. Jerome Messam, 1,000-yard season last year. Drew Tate in trouble. Here comes the pressure. Marcus Howard giving chase. Tate pushed out of bounds. You saw Marcus Howard prowling. Marcus Howard has missed 13 games this season with a hamstring. The Eskimos are happy to have big number 91 back in the lineup.
Absolutely one of the most feared pass rushers in the Canadian Football League is Marcus Howard. Get another look at J.C. Sherritt. He forces Drew Tate out of bounds. Put that one on the tally for number 47.
Second and 12. Tate escapes and throws. Ball is caught by Jabari Arthur. Drew Tate was dangerously close to being over the line of scrimmage when he threw that football, but it looks like it's a first down.
Well, Drew Tate looked like he was dangerously close to being sacked on the play. TJ Hill came in free. Just had a bad angle and went high on the tackle attempt. But Tate, nice job dropping it in the window there to Jabari Arthur. He appeared to keep the forearms tucked under that football to secure the completion.
Cornish in the backfield again. Hasn't had a touch in a while. There's the direct snap. And again, they've been trying that direct snap a couple of times, and it has not worked so far here. J.C. Sherritt again in the backfield.
A little bit of frustration there from the Calgary Stampeders center, John Gott, number 63. A little bit off the mark with that snap that's so critical to the timing of that type of play.
Last play before the 3-minute warning is given to both benches. Second and 12. Quick hitter. Robbie Bryant tries to romp. Chris Thompson harnesses him. Calgary Stampeder offense now sputters. 3-minute warning before halftime. 20-10 Calgary. He was kind of looking at us foolishly wearing suits in the cold. He was well dressed. Joe Burnett cutting back up near the 25-yard line. Closed captioning tonight is brought to you by Gibson's 100th Grey Cup commemorative whiskey. Available now in limited supply at local liquor stores. .2:11 to go. Heaters on the sideline. Eskimos trying to turn the heat up offensively.
But watch Juwan Simpson, right ankle on this play.
Whoa.
Rolled that ankle, and that is your biggest fear when you're the Calgary Stampeders. Second place already sewn up.
Nichols hangs in. Kerry Koch has it. What a breakthrough year it's been for Kerry Koch.
This is a guy who arrived on the Canadian Football League scene with a bang 2 years ago with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Key guy down the stretch for them in the 2010 season. Lost much of 2011 due to injury. Eskimos signed him as a free agent.
And out of the backfield, Marcus Henry. Kerry Koch's had a breakthrough year. This is a guy out of Virginia went to Tulane, Louisiana guy out of Baton Rouge, and he's had some sensational grabs, made his presence felt, has found a home here.
Well, certainly has, as the Eskimos found themselves coming into this season. You see the circus tip drill with Ryan Phillips a couple weeks ago.
Matt Nichols rolls, gets out of trouble, and Calvin McCarty clutching it, hanging on, plowing, crashing down to the Calgary 48-yard line. Calvin McCarty certainly not implemented the way he has been in previous seasons.
Well, Calvin McCarty back in 2008 led all Canadian Football League running backs in receptions. You would think with the trend that we've seen this year towards getting running backs so involved in the passing game that McCarty might be one of those guys who would be a bigger part of his team's offense. But through this season, Eskimo veteran limited to just 3 catches coming into tonight's game.
2nd and 1. It looks like Nichols plunges ahead. A lot of that, too, is the fact they've had this 3-headed monster that they've called it, with Jerome Messam and Corey Boyd and Hugh Charles, who is out with a knee injury and trying to get the touches to their main feature backs.
Well, yeah, a lot of uncertainty coming into the season. Hugh Charles had been a late season acquisition last year and was certainly an option going into the year. The big question mark for them going in was whether or not Jerome Messam was going to show up, having been on a tryout with the Miami Dolphins until mid-season.
There is the aforementioned Jerome Messam. Both he and John Cornish last year really brought up the Canadian content ratio for running backs. And
well, of course, Andrew Harris in BC as well, a guy who has had a season nothing short of outstanding himself this year, the CFL's leader in yards from scrimmage.
Messam over 1,000 last year, and again came late to the party for the Eskimos. So he was trying to find employment in the National Football League. 2nd and 10. Nichols goes deep again, turning his Kerry Cook. He's got a touchdown! Oh my!
Well, Kerry Coke did a phenomenal job of locating the football on this play. Initially looking over his inside shoulder, getting turned to look over the outside shoulder, and then finding the football to make this grab. You know, we were worried about Matt Nichols' slow start in this ball game, but the kid is heated up here in the 2nd.
Coke's 7th touchdown may have also turned an ankle. So the Edmonton Eskimos down big early, obviously making a statement here that they really don't care about the crossover. They'd like to go down the road to Calgary next weekend.
Well, remember we saw earlier in this game, the Stampeders, Keon Raymond was concentrating on trying to wall off Kerry Coke to see it keep him from running the inside route. This time, Coke sells it like he's trying to get to the inside, settles down, freezes a defender, takes off deep. Manages to get enough space to catch touchdown pass number 7 on the year.
I'm sure this has been another week of reflection and perspective as well for Kerry Coke. When he was in Tulane a few years ago, he was playing. Hurricane Katrina hit and, of course, devastated his home state of Louisiana. Watching what was going on in Jersey, New York. I know we have viewers in the States watching tonight. A lot of players in the CFL from that area sending their prayers and their best wishes. Kerry Coke finds the end zone. The Eskimos made this a ball game here. Keon Raymond behind cover. Here he comes. There he goes. Grant Shaw can't get him and finally knocks him out. Nice return by Keon Raymond.
The Edmonton Eskimos thankful to have a former All-Canadian defensive back in Grant Shaw. doing their kicking. He's made a number of special teams tackles just like this one, a touchdown saver by the Eskimo kicker. Great return from Keon Raven.
They've been trying to keep the ball away from Larry Taylor. Bad choice that time. 50-yard return. So Cornish lost 2 yards in that last sequence. Might this be the drive here before halftime that he finally breaks this record? 12 away. Tate to the air again, though. Stays on his feet. Drew Tate scrambling now, running. And out of bounds he goes with J.C. Sherritt putting Drew Tate in his crosshairs.
Eskimos getting some pressure on Tate these last couple of series. While they haven't recorded a sack, they have forced him to try to find his men on the run repeatedly here, forcing the Calgary quarterback out of the pocket.
Again, Drew Tate supposed to play the first half, likely to see Kevin Glenn in the second. Who will be the quarterback next week in the playoffs? Tate in trouble, buried, sacked. There's Ted Laurent. Brandon Lang was in there as well. Down goes Drew Tate.
Well, Laurent in the middle of that defense. Brandon Lang coming off the right defensive end. Ted Laurent had that great start to the season. The two of them meet at the quarterback. Laurent, the Eskimos nominee as most outstanding Canadian here in his second year. Montreal native. Played his high school football in the state of Georgia. College football at Mississippi. Second round pick in the 2011 supplemental draft for the S. Paying big dividends.
Laurent with an assist, if he can give an assist on that sack to Brandon Lang.
Timer, please reset the clock to 8 seconds.
Stampeders.
8.
Four seconds on the clock, but they're going to reset it to 8. So one more shot here for John Huffnagel. Seeing a big lead evaporate. It's supposed to be a meaningless game. There are no meaningless games. We'll see what the boys have to say. GMC live at the half. A threesome tonight. Randorf, Climbing, and Schultz. Milt Stiegel and Matt Dunnigan in Winnipeg for the Hall of Fame festivities. And still 1 second left. Joe West. And that was third down. Did not get to the first down marker. So will we see more of Drew Tate? Will John Huffnagel stick to his word? Kevin Glenn, second half.
And the question is, did Drew Tate
do enough?
Do enough to be the guy going into the playoffs? And obviously some of that decision hinges on what Kevin Glenn does in the second half.
Not bad for a guy, though, who really hasn't played most of the season. Drew Tate comes in. Touchdown. Touchdown toss. But the Eskimos rally back. Still a TBA. Who will play where next weekend? GMC live at the half coming your way next on Wendy's Friday Night Football on TSN.
A football game. 2017 is the score. Hi, everybody. Dave Randorf, John Climbing, Chris Schultz. So that's the story for Edmonton. We are going to see Matt Nichols. At least we are scheduled to see Matt Nichols. Maybe even a little Stephen Giles for the Eskimos. But we want to talk about the Calgary Stampeders quarterback situation as it gets more and more interesting with the West semifinal looming next week. Drew Tate was asked last week, Jock. He said, do you think these last two games are an audition for you to get your, your starting job back in the playoffs? He says, yeah. I hope so. I want to play every snap I'm available. And you know what? If Hufnagel is going to take him out of the game, I think they might have to take his helmet away because he wants back on that field.
Yeah, try telling Drew Tate this game is a meaningless one. You know, it's funny. A couple weeks ago, he was interviewed and said, you know what? Kevin Glenn's the starter. I'm just happy to be back on the football team. He doesn't look happy just to be around. He wants to play, and he is out there competing. But there was a fascinating little exchange here early in the second quarter where he goes back to pass, and everybody here is running curls. Everybody. He throws the go route. Now, I don't know many pass patterns that involve 5 guys running curls and 1 guy running deep, but it appears Drew Tate felt that's what should have happened here. He was clearly very upset with his receiver. They come to the sideline, and look, they have a little discussion. This, I don't know, this is pretty normal. Schultz,
it is normal. That's
quarterback and coordinator and receivers, that's normal. So I thought that's what should happen when there's a miscommunication. You get in the sidelines. And you go a little further here, and you're going to see, whoa, John Hufnagel coming in here. And that's still pretty normal, right? He's barking at these guys. He wants to know what's going on. Right, Schultz, you've seen that before.
That's okay.
Whoa, what was that?
Whoa.
Can we just go back there? Can we see what just,
whoa.
I mean, watch this. This is Drew Tate yelling back at his head coach. And I don't know what you think, Schultz.
No, you don't do that. You don't do that.
I haven't seen that very often. And did you see John Hufnagel's reaction?
Yes.
He follows his quarterback to the bench. He's not happy.
No, he's not happy, and that creates tension between your head coach and your quarterback, and you don't see that. If you see it, it is a rarity. And then you see Drew Tate right there getting upset at Jabari Arthur because he felt Jabari ran the wrong route on the play. So this is unusual. There's a little bit of a soap opera going on here between Drew Tate and his head coach.
He knows time is short, right? He's supposed to just have one half here to prove that he should be the guy next week. And there's a lot of fans in Calgary watching very closely to see his mechanics and where they are at this stage.
I don't think your mechanics should involve yelling at your head coach.
Well, okay, you've made that point. You've made that point. But bottom line, what have you seen from his arsenal of passes?
First of all, his mechanics on how he yelled at the head coach are pretty good. But his mechanics in terms of throwing the football are even better. You can still see that Drew Tate has all the ability to throw all the passes necessary in pro football. The first one, this is a great little finesse pass. Look at the touch on this, right in the receiver's hands. And then you're going to see this arc fade. He throws it to an area. The receiver adjusts nicely, keying off the back of the defensive back. And this is a bullet. Fast to the receiver, in stride, nice. And this is the hardest one, I think, to master. You're running to your left. You have to throw back to your right. It's a completed pass. When you look at the skill set that Drew has demonstrated, to me, he's demonstrated some great passes. Now, the other aspects of his game, how he gets along with receivers and the chemistry, that's another issue to be discussed later.
Kevin Glenn, we're going to discuss this a little further now. I want to ask you about the room. With the West semifinal coming up against either these Eskimos or the Riders, is there a faction in the room, a bunch of Kevin Glenn guys and a bunch of Drew Tate guys?
Well, it's a reality, you know, when you talk about quarterback controversies, and we probably are heading into one here. But this is different than other quarterback controversies that we've seen, because this isn't a situation where guys are thinking he's terrible and he's great, which is what you've seen.
Yeah.
I think everyone in that room is going to be agreeing right now that they've got 2 great quarterbacks. Now, it's a question of choosing between them, which can often be more of a popularity contest. Frankly, it's who you like. Now, I'm thinking Jabari Arthur, for example, getting yelled at by Drew Tate in front of 25,000 people.
He just joined the Kevin Glenn guys.
He might just have switched sides.
You know, I also think that there'll be certain players that gravitate towards Kevin Glenn because they have a comfort zone with him. There's an articulation in the huddle, or there's a chemistry there. And then other guys, you know, maybe they gravitate more to Drew Tate because their personality matches with Drew Tate, which is a little bit more fiery. I mean, we are speculating here, but your question, to answer your question, is there sometimes a divide when you have 2 quarterbacks of similar abilities? Both are good. The answer is yes.
Well, it's kind of like when I was hosting and you were gone, David, and you came back and you were hosting. And
he did a great job, buddy.
Schultz and Matt were at it all the time. Yeah. People have
See, I was
David.
a jock guy, and Matt was a little bit more of a day.
Are you okay?
I'm on the, I'm getting used to it again.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So
I'm not.
10 years, I would have thought I would have had a bit of a head start, but apparently not. By the way, here's the update on John Cornish. He's 12 yards away from the Canadian running back. Welcome back. Here are the halftime numbers. Good game. 2017 Stamps over the Eskimos. John?
139 yards passing for Drew Tate. Okay, Kevin Glenn, you're up next. Can you get at least 139 passing yards?
Want to remind you that tomorrow's the Hall of Fame game. Montreal is at Winnipeg. The Hall of Fame induction dinner is happening as we speak. And here is the class of 2012, headlined by the famous bomber, Milt Stegall and Ty Jones, another famous bomber. Damon Allen needs no introduction. Jack Benson, Eric Lapointe, David Braley, Avin Shawn, by the way. Avin Shawn, yes. And Peter Cannellan, former great head coach at the University of Calgary, won 4 Vanier Cups. Once again, a fantastic class going in.
Yeah, sure is. Eric Lapointe obviously played around the same time in the CIS, and he was fantastic there. Played with him with the Alouettes. Yeah. Damon Allen played with him with the Riders, but Milt Stegall's my new teammate, so I guess I should say something nice about him.
It must be fun for him to have this weekend in Winnipeg.
It's got to be. It's got to be. You know, I played against Milt Stegall for a long time, and this is very well deserved. What was your line about Milt Stegall?
I can't remember.
What can we say? What can we say about Milt that he hasn't said about himself? Yes, he is not shy. And you know what? He wasn't as a player. But let me tell you something about Milt Stegall. He was not the greatest route runner I've ever seen. He didn't have the greatest hands, but he is by far the greatest playmaker of any receiver I have ever seen play the game. When that ball was in the air, nobody went for it like Milt Stegall and had a better chance of coming down with it. And it's very well deserved. Congrats, Milt.
And comments about some of the other of the inductees, David Braley. You know, sometimes you got to admit, we wouldn't have the Canadian Football League if it were not for David Braley and his commitment to this league. Tyrone Jones, tough football player. Jack Abinchan, as David mentioned, one of my heroes. Damon Allen, it goes without saying. Every single one of these people are so deserving for this moment. And these moments are critical in terms of building the identity of the game based on the history of these very fine players and contributors.
You know, we got a pregame show prior to the Hall of Fame game tomorrow. We'll have lots of great reflection on all these great football names, as well as
17-point lead decreases to 3. 2 records in the air tonight. John Cornish closer to Normie Kwong. J.C. Sherritt closer to Calvin Tagle. Here's Ryan with J.C.
JC, 6 down, 5 to go. How are you feeling out there, and how much attention are you paying to your numbers?
I feel good. It's hard to ignore because I come off the sideline and everybody's talking about it, but you know, honestly, we got a game, and it's against Calgary, that's who we want to beat every time we face them in anything. So we just need to go get this win.
I don't know if the plan was to play the whole game or not. How do you strike that balance between chasing this record down? We know that you haven't been 100% healthy, and staying safe that way.
Well, I feel good, and we came into this game as soon as I don't feel like I'm doing 100%, or if I'm hurting myself, I'm coming out immediately. You know, whether it's one tackle away or whatever. So as long as I'm feeling good, I'm a football player. I'm gonna play football.
Good luck. Thanks, JC.
All right, thanks.
Well, that is exactly his mantra. Getting ready for the second half here in the final game of the regular season for both teams. 4th of 4 meetings. Calgary Stampeders looking to pull off a sweep of the Eskimos this season. Weldon Brown slips and then gets to the 40-yard line. So Matt Nichols really turned it up. Matt Nichols will start the second half. We won't see Kerry Joseph right now, not at least yet, or Stephen Giles. Matt Nichols, look at those numbers.
Yeah, 9 of 15 and that great performance last week, 8 of 14 in the first half here. 2 touchdown passes in that second quarter. Jerome Messam wants to get that running game going. He's got 9 yards on the ground. Kerry Cope stepping up big time, 63 yards on 2 catches, including a late touchdown to bring the Esks within 3.
Hand off to Corey Boyd. Boyd, the left side, his biggest run of the night. Pickup of almost a dozen yards. Corey Boyd, who did that almost every touch a couple of seasons ago with the Toronto Argonauts, a resilient back. Came to Edmonton after being released by the Argos this season, then was released by the Eskimos. Once Hugh Charles got hurt, he returned to the Eskimos.
Yeah, And Corey Boyd trying to make the most of this second chance. As I said earlier, it's a bit of an audition to try and stay on that playoff roster.
Here he is again, that spin is so familiar to Toronto Argonaut fans. Corey Boyd, something to prove here, as do the Eskimos.
And Corey Boyd looks like he's playing with a level of confidence much closer to what we saw during his time with the Toronto Argonauts. I think, in all honesty, Corey Boyd was so shocked when he got released by Toronto around mid-season. He was very hesitant, very tentative when he joined the Eskimos the first time around, and really wasn't the same football player.
23 yards on 2 carries. Here he is again. Boyd still won't go down. Corey Boyd wants to be the guy in the lineup in the playoffs, and wouldn't that be something if the Eskimos are the crossover team? Should they lose this game or Saskatchewan wins tomorrow, the Eskimos would go to Toronto. Corey Boyd in Toronto, Ricky Ray against his old team. The storylines,
yeah, they write themselves.
stay on the ground again.
After 3 straight carries, Corey Boyd goes to the sidelines. Jerome Messam in to spell him now. 2 big punishing backs. If they can continue the production they've started with here in the second half of this ball game, you've got Boyd at about 210, 215. Messam up in that 240 range. A couple guys that can wear down a defense in a hurry.
Little check down here. Audible at the line for Nichols. 2nd and 10. Nichols again. Deep ball. Goal line. Incomplete. Looking for Matt Carter. Matt Nichols has thrown a couple of impressive touchdown strikes here tonight to Fred Stamps and also Kerry Koch.
And Matt Carter gets that outside release. He's got his head around to the football, but didn't make a great adjustment getting back to the ball on the play as he got tied up with the defender, Quincy Butler.
Grant Shaw, this one just inside the 40. This has been the distance that has been puzzling for Shaw this year, between the 30 and 40 yard lines. It's a 50-50 proposition on his kicks. And again, struggles. And look out, because Larry Taylor's deciding to bring it out. Picks his way out to the 15-yard line. The lead remains at 3 for the Calgary Stampeders, and tempers heat up. The record chase continues. John Cornish 12 yards away. J.C. Sherritt 5 tackles away.
You wonder how much longer each of these guys is going to stay in his team's respective lineup as you try to preserve your assets.
I would think once John Cornish gets this record, which could be very quickly, it might be helmet off, coat on, get ready for next week. Kevin Glenn now takes his turn at quarterback. Cornish in the backfield. Drew Tate first half, Kevin Glenn second half. A dozen yards away for this guy, John Cornish. Gobbled up again at the line of scrimmage. And once again, J.C. Sherritt right there. He is now 4 tackles away.
A nice read and adjustment here from J.C. Sherritt to duck the blocker, J. Michael Dean. Come free on the play. I don't think he's going to get credited with the tackle on that one. But you see the awareness in space of Sherritt. Part of what allows an undersized linebacker to survive and thrive here in the CFL.
He's in on so many tackles, you practically have to give it an assist on so many. Kevin Glenn now, his first rush of the game. Looked like he was going to throw the football. He's short of a first down. And I'm sure this is not exactly going according to plan for Sean Huffnagel and the Stampeders. I'm sure would like to get John Cornish the record, and also would like to fine-tune their offense before next week, whoever they play, whether it's Edmonton or Saskatchewan.
I think one of the things that you want to see a little bit of from Kevin Glenn, a guy who has been criticized at times during his career for not running enough, is a willingness to use his legs to make some plays for his team.
There's the fake. And going right side.
What a gutsy call from deep in their own end.
First down for the Stampeders.
Stamps, Mark Killam, special teams coordinator. Pulls that one off. Keep an eye on Matt Walter. Second man from the left in that back row. The Stamps' other Canadian running back, former University of Calgary star. Gets a great lead block there from Brandon Smith, it appeared. Couldn't tell if that was 26 Rob Cote or 28 Smith. Had the lead kick-out block to secure that first down.
Cornish again. And again, he gets stopped in his tracks. And this is where it gets dangerous for the Stampeders, where you do not want John Cornish to get nicked up before next week. You want him, obviously, to get this record.
Especially bearing in mind that your opponent right now is potentially your opponent next week. Don't think they don't recognize the value. Not that anybody's trying to hurt anyone intentionally, but the fact is, they're going to be aware of putting a little bit extra every shot they get at John Cornish.
2nd and 7. Glenn looks to the air. Bryant on a slant. Made one miss, but not another. And again, the Eskimo defense comes up big here. And you talked about the possibility of the Eskimos playing the Stampeders next weekend. You know, Edmonton, again, could go east, play indoor football the rest of the way. They could also go down the road to Calgary. Considering a team they have not beaten this season, wouldn't this make a statement if they can beat the Stampeders in the final game of the regular season? Record is on hold again for John Cornish. This is a big booming kick by Rob Maver, sending Burnett back, and he's going backwards and lost yardage. And there's a penalty flag down. We'll sort it out when we come back to Commonwealth Stadium. Team the score here. Here is the penalty. Malik Jackson on a horse collar tackle on Joe Burnett. Matt Nichols still at the helm. He's brought his team back from an early deficit of 17 points. Jerome Messam on the pitch. Carl McCartney knocks him down. Let's go to the sideline once again and rejoin Ryan Rashog.
Rod, the quarterback situation was an interesting one all week long. All week, Kavis Reed saying Kerry Joseph would go. Well, then this ended up being a game that didn't mean a lot for the Eskimos playoff-wise. So then the announcement was made that Matt Nichols was going in. So the question is, can Nichols improve his chances of starting in the playoff game next week? I asked Kavis Reed that very question today. He wouldn't comment on who his starter will be for the playoffs, but Nichols last week and now this week again making a case for himself.
Well, makes a case for himself again on cue, Ryan. He has thrown some very sharp footballs. Good tight spirals on target here tonight. Slow start to this game, but has really picked it up. And Fred Stamps gathers in another.
The Eskimos go to two backs in the backfield, maximize the protection for their young quarterback on that one. There's plenty of time to make the play.
Nichols out of West Valley, California in high school. Play action. There's Stamps again. Brandon Smith the tackle, back to back. Fred Stamps. So decisions really for both teams as to who will be at quarterback next week. Kerry Joseph from the Balaclava. Doesn't look like he's coming in anytime soon. Will he be the guy next week, wherever the Eskimos play?
And you see Kerry Joseph's numbers against the Calgary Stampeders. KJ productive against Calgary everywhere except in the win column. 0-2.
Kerry Joseph, 39 years old. Biggest year, of course, was in 07. Grey Cup, Saskatchewan against Winnipeg, where Kevin Glenn could not play for the Blue Bombers. He was the East Division most outstanding player that year. Kerry Joseph Most outstanding player. Then he went to Toronto. Nichols again, going deep. This one up for grabs. And a throwaway that time. Shamad Chambers was the intended target, at least the closest player to that ball.
Yeah, Chambers looked back with a little bit of uncertainty as he kind of broke off this route and then watched the throw sail over his head.
Well, a 3-point game and 3rd and 11. Bradshaw missed his last field goal attempt from this area, so Kavis Reed elects to keep Nichols in. And going out, but his receiver had fallen. Matt Carter had tripped up. So the Eskimos turn the ball over in downs. Still down 3. Pass, so Stampeders. Again, John Cornish knocking on the door of an all-time record. Seven yards away. And very close to that. Looks like about 4 yards. So 3 yards away from Normie Kwong's record.
John Cornish closing in on history. Now 3 yards away in his bid to become the top single-season Canadian rusher in CFL history.
A record that has stood for 56 years. Kevin Glenn airs it out. Mo Price steps out of bounds.
Kevin Glenn took a pretty good shot as he delivered that football. Glenn, John Cornish, nice blitz pickup here on his Edmonton counterpart, J.C. Sherritt, helping out the guard, Dimitri Zumpas.
Well, a good chance it could happen right here. Is this it? No. Back to the line of scrimmage. Right now, as J.C. Sherritt in on that tackle again. You know, at the beginning of the game, Dwayne, if you said J.C. Sherritt has 11 tackles and John Cornish has 50 yards, and you bet on which guy would get that record first, I don't think you'd bet on J.C. Sherritt.
Yeah, tackles, the 11 tackles is J.C. Sherritt's season high, career high. For John Cornish, 50 yards is below his game average.
They both are 3 away in their category. 2nd and 10. Glenn in the pocket. Down the sideline. Jump ball. What a catch by Maurice Price. Touchdown, Calgary. Thank you very much.
Once again, the price is right for the Calgary Stampeders. Mo Price emerging as a big-time, big-play threat for the Stamps.
Look at this.
And the corner, Ittershagen mistimes that jump. Mo Price stays with that football and walks in.
Over 100 yards in the game. There is a challenge flag. But again, every scoring play is reviewed. And you can see the official just
watching those feet closely.
Bearing down on the feet of Mo Price. Every scoring play this season is reviewed. They were lining up for the convert. And no Nick Lewis this week. No Johnny Forzani for the rest of the year.
Hey, what's up, baby? All day. Good shit, coach.
Marquay McDaniel not in the lineup, but Mo Price has looked good in that number 17 uniform. It is a touchdown. The lead extended to 10. Maurice Price. It has been an eventful couple of weeks for the Stampeder receiver. Did he step out of bounds here when he caught this football? Right there. No, that official was right on that line.
Yeah, great call there. Official perfectly positioned.
Yes, sir. Hey, what's up, baby? Shout out to all my people in Orlando, Florida, man. That's what I do it for. Hey, the Stampeder fan club. Man, everybody. Love y'all. QC party started, Tampa, Florida. I think I owe you a drink. Mama, grandma down there, get well.
And the Stampeders with a short kick here. Calvin McCarty clutches it. Talked about the eventful couple of weeks.
Hey, we're on them all day.
How about this?
Yeah, Mo Price finding a permanent home on the highlight reels last week, as well as his touchdown for this moment as he went head first into that heater on the sidelines.
You'll see that highlight for a long time, but that was so close to being catastrophic.
Yeah, he came face to face with the flames. He said could see the flames in front of him. His only injury, fortunately, you know, as he hit his head. To say a head injury was a fortunate thing.
Matt Nichols comes back firing again, connects with Marcus Henry. Eskimos are not folding at all here. They have found some rhythm offensively. Their biggest issue, Dwayne, getting out of the gate. And they're going to have to correct that before the playoffs begin next week.
Yeah, one thing is for sure, the Edmonton Eskimos are going to be on the road in the playoffs, and you don't want to be playing in an early hole on the road.
Nichols again, little lob over the top. Trying to get Fred Stamps to curl underneath it. He could not. Postseason next week. Will it be a crossover game, or will they go down the road to Calgary?
And you see Kerry Joseph's career playoff record as a starting quarterback at 39. Can he rekindle some of that magic? The team 2 wins in their last 9 games, so not red hot coming down the stretch. That's for sure. Struggles on both sides of the ball.
Again, depending on what Matt Nichols does here, will it be Kerry Joseph or will it be number 16? Oh, big block there for Nichols. Frees him up. More time. And caught. Matt Carter hauls it in, and Matt Nichols thanks his O-line for that extra time. What a block. Matt to Matt. Big gainer. 29 yards.
Yeah, Matt Nichols using the legs to buy time, left then right. Eyes downfield the whole way and sees Matt Carter running into open space. There you see the straight line connection between the two. Drops it in there perfectly over top of the weak side linebacker, Malik Jackson.
3 Matts on that play. Nichols, Carter, and O'Donnell. And now end zone touchdown! Corey Boyd!
I'll tell you what, Rod, CB28 doesn't have the same ring as CB3 did in Toronto, but he looks like the same guy for the first time since he got to Edmonton.
Absolutely. This is what number 28 used to do when he wore a different uniform, double blue. Did it a lot. Corey Boyd is back. So are the Eskimos in this game. Who says it's a nothing game?
And what a gift it would be to have Corey Boyd get his groove back heading into the playoffs.
First touchdown as an Eskimo. He'll keep that football.
The leading rusher in the league at the time of his release by the Toronto Argonauts. Struggled as an Edmonton Eskimo. never more than 45 yards in a game, no touchdowns. Longest run prior to this, 18 yards. But tonight, kind of looks like Corey Boyd is back.
That can only bode well for the Eskimo offense. Again, Hugh Charles out with a knee injury. The man in the tinted visor. Corey Boyd finds end zone again. A 3-point game again, final minute, third quarter. Larry Taylor. Brought down there by Mike Cornell. So John Cornish 3 yards away from making history. This has been a lot longer tote meter than we would have anticipated, counting down the yards. He only needed 50 at the beginning of the night. You would have probably said might have happened first quarter, early second. Needs to get to the 36-yard line. And John Cornish has done it.
With a bag.
John Cornish has run past one of the greatest Canadian running backs of all time.
And his day appears to be done just like that. Cornish heads to the sidelines for a well-deserved rest. What a fantastic year this young man has had.
Normie Kwong, move over. There is a new all-time single-season leader for Canadian running backs. His name is John Cornish. Looks like he's done now for the night. Matt Walter. J.C. Sherritt now. Now we go to the other record watch. The final play of the third quarter. John Cornish makes history. Eclipses the mark of a longtime legend. A 56-year-old record is no longer. John Cornish is now number one. Three-point ball game, but most significant, John Cornish makes CFL history. Best ever single-season rushing mark for a Canadian back. And I know he was a general manager for you at one time, and I would say that Normie Kwong right now would be very proud of John Cornish.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just of John Cornish, but of all the Canadian running backs in the league, and how that trend has kind of come full circle to the times of the likes of Normie Kwong and Jerry James. Proud Canadian players in this league. Proud to see guys like John Cornish, Andrew Harris, Jerome Messam, and the like carrying the torch.
How great was Normie Kwong? The Eskimos in '56, he had that record in 15 games. Number 95. Also a former Stampeder. His legend will always remain, but John Cornish has eclipsed the Clipper. And Matt Walter runs over the Eskimos. Matt Walter, the former star with the Calgary Dinos. And speaking of that, big weekend, of course. 40, you and I getting ready for the CIS. I know this is one of your favorite times of year for CFL playoff football, but Can West football tonight. Saskatchewan's in Regina. Tomorrow, Manitoba in Calgary. And all of the semifinals in respective conferences go this weekend.
Things are certainly heating up. You mentioned Matt Walter, the former Calgary Dino. Great running back in his own right, comes in averaging over 6.5 a carry.
Kevin Glenn, Robbie Bryant, Weldon Brown trying to strip him of the football, and so the Stampeders not holding back again, trying to keep the momentum going heading into the postseason. They've won 3 games in a row, trying to make it 4, and arguably the hottest team going into the playoffs in the Canadian Football League right now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, even a game like this, it's easy to talk about a meaningless game for the Calgary Stampeders, but for the players, it's never meaningless. You want to go in hot, you want to go in with confidence, and remember, for Kevin Glenn at quarterback right now, he's playing for a starting job potentially in the postseason.
Over the top. Joe West can't hang on. Kevin Glenn knows he had him. West knows he had a touchdown. That's Kevin Glenn's first incompletion since coming into this ball game here in the second half.
Yeah, timing was perfect. The defender, Sherritt, slipped on the play. Took that outside bite as Joe West broke back to the inside. And he may have been thinking 6 before he was thinking catch.
Kevin Glenn, 12th year, star at Illinois State, native of Detroit. Never won a Grey Cup. Zips one in. Bryant sidesteps one and another, and then fumbled football, stripped by the Eskimos. Brandon Lang has it. It didn't look like Robbie Bryant was down. And the Eskimos force the turnover.
Well, Brandon Lang, one of those Eskimo defensive linemen, who's gotten an opportunity this year because of the number of injuries that unit has suffered. Number 96, watch the big right hand pull that ball out of there. Rewarded for his efforts. See, he gets it out of there just before Robbie Bryant's left knee goes down. Lang rewarded for pulling it out by also getting the recovery on the play.
Former San Diego Charger, 10 games in 2010. Nichols down the sideline, Stamps, it's a jump ball, and Fred Stamps has it! You've got to be joking!
Well, how badly did Fred Stamps want this football? It looked like it was going to go the other way on the pick. Stamps wrestles it away from the defensive back, Jamar Wall.
He has carved quite a reputation for making highlight reel catches. Add another one. Nichols gunning again. Make Kuhorn. Far sideline. Former Dino in Eskimo colors. But how about Fred Stamps?
And the only question on the play, no question about the heart and effort of Fred Stamps. Just wonder if he might have stepped out of bounds on the route before coming back to catch that one, but it was close. He may have stayed in. Regardless, undetected, no challenge on the play. Fred Stamps comes up with a big catch from Matt Nichols.
Nichols in trouble. Blitzed and brought down. Brandon Smith amped up with the sack.
Well, Brandon Smith coming from his halfback position. Second sack of the year for him. A Calgary defense that likes to send a little bit of pressure from the back end.
Well, all the talk before this game, Matt Nichols just getting a chance to play. Is this guy doing enough to maybe become the starter? Where the Eskimos play next week. Over 300 yards passing already. Stays in the pocket again. It's collapsing. Tosses it out. Kuhorn. 2nd and 19. Just past the initial line of scrimmage. So now Grant Shaw will come out. A chance to tie this game.
I'll tell you, they don't get the first down, but this play gives you an indication of how comfortable Matt Nichols is getting in that pocket. Great poise, pressure closing on him, but hangs in there, progresses through his reads before hitting that check down to Kuhorn.
Shaw missed from 40 earlier. Another one from right on the 40-yard line. Kick is up, and it is good. The Eskimos have come all the way back. Tie ball game. The other JC, Sherritt. 1 to tie, 2 to break. Calvin Tiggle's 18-year-old record. John Cornish already surpassing Normie Kwong in the record books. We've got a game right now, 27-27. Dwayne Ford, Calvin Tiggle.
Absolutely.
Great defender.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to play both with and against Calvin Tiggle. We were teammates back in 1994 with the Toronto Argonauts. His first year in the CFL, Calvin Tiggle quickly made a name for himself, much like J.C. Sherritt. Number 73 in double blue was everywhere. Not just the physical skills, but the heart of a lion, one of the toughest guys, best leaders I ever played with.
Well, those are the same kind of words expressed when they talk about 47. Glenn airing it out for Mo Price. What a night he's had. What a couple of weeks he's had. And again, here's two teams already have playoff spots secured. You say it all the time. There is no nothing game. There is always something to play for. Certainly for the Eskimos. Next week's fate still to be determined. But both of these teams are not coasting into the postseason.
No, not a chance. And I think a lot of it has to do with what's going on with the quarterback situation for both teams. In Calgary, guys are competing to see who plays. And Matt Nichol doing the same for Edmonton.
Right through the gloves of Jabari Arthur. My bad, says 81.
Yeah, there is absolutely no way to sugarcoat this one. Jabari Arthur just took his eyes off the football. Blatant drop.
Stampeder team we've talked about. Rolling, heading towards the postseason. 3 straight wins. 8 wins in their last 10 games. Here's the rush. Glenn over the top. Almost picked off.
With that blitz coming, Kevin Glenn's throwing hot. Needs his receiver, Chris Bauman, who's taken the whole shot there to get his head around in a hurry. Break it in and get there.
An Eskimo team that has 27 picks this year. Ridiculous number. Joe Burnett leads the CFL with 6 interceptions, a number of players with 5. No picks yet tonight. 9 minutes to play here, fourth quarter. Final game, regular season for both these teams. Their 4th meeting. Stamps have won the first 3. No yards on the play. Joe Burnett covers. 9:02 to go on Wendy's Friday Night Football.
They are
very,
on
very
the
close.
precipice. And you know,
on the cusp.
You know, Schultze and I talked about the tackle hunger program this week. You know, Schultze wanted every team to start their heaviest quarterback in the final weekend as they donate the quarterback's weight in food. Make sure they get that million. Great program and great support for it, particularly this season.
The quarterbacks are benevolent, but at the same time, they get hurt when they see those numbers. Matt Nichols having a very good night here. Calvin McCarty. Matt Nichols in the first quarter was 1 for 4 for 27 yards. And then the lights went on second quarter onward.
Yeah, Matt Nichols, since then, 14 of 21, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, absolutely catching fire. You know, you combine that with what we saw from Matt Nichols at the end of the game last week, and suddenly Kavis Reed has a very difficult decision. Or maybe it's an easy one.
And this is what he can do as well. He looked to lateral that football, but he got hammered from behind. Monte Bolden laying a lick on Matt Nichols.
You know, I'll tell you the general feeling, media-wise, when the Hamilton Tiger Cats lost last night to Toronto, it clinched a playoff spot for the Edmonton Eskimos. Still a chance to end up 3rd, but regardless, this team was going to be in the playoffs. Decision was made that Kerry Joseph was not going to play in this game. Matt Nichols would start in quarterback because it wasn't as critical a game. I think somebody forgot to tell number 16.
Well, number 16 has been putting on a show. Matt Nichols, he certainly has the pedigree. And might we be seeing another star on the rise that we've seen with other quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League, getting their opportunity and taking off with it. The league in its history, that's the way it's gone. Even Kerry Joseph can appreciate that. A few years ago, he came to the CFL. Right now, Matt Nichols, from last week to this week, and also the possibility of winning this football game for Edmonton. Ball overthrown that time, one of his few blemishes now. Here's a guy who was undrafted out of Eastern Washington, did go to the Dallas Cowboys, played a couple of preseason games, then made his way to Canada. Again with Greg Peach and J.C. Sherritt, Eastern Washington guys. Gets the job here, still wears number 16 because of his dad who used to wear that number growing up. Maybe he might be the guy starting next week. That's still to be determined. Larry Taylor, like he stutter step there, is able to hang on to the football. 27-27, 6.5 to go. CFL on TSN continues tomorrow. Hall of Fame game, 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific. Alouettes kick off in Winnipeg as they take on the Blue Bombers.
On the return, holding.
Congratulations to all the Hall of Famers. Great names this year. Class of 2012. Milt Stiegel, colleague, who had a memorable night here, one of the great games, the miracle here, and a terrific career. Tyrone Jones, the late Tyrone Jones, Jack Abenchen, Damon Allen, Eric Lapointe, Pete Cannellan, David Braley will be inducted. Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Long field here. Kevin Glenn, shotgun. Play action, lost the ball. Knocked it out of bounds. And a penalty flag there as Glenn was hit. Kevin Glenn talked with us yesterday about the grip and his tendency sometimes quarterbacks wear gloves or don't wear gloves. Glenn was saying yesterday he doesn't like to wear a glove in the cold. Some quarterbacks will, but he likes that extra grip. Right there, he could not grip that football.
You see that one just pop out of Kevin Glenn's hands. Combination of a cold ball and cold hands. What you're likely going to get for the flag is interference, as it looked like Marcus Howard tried to tackle Kevin Glenn before Glenn had possession of the loose ball.
Legal interference on a loose ball. Edmonton number 91. Ball will be spotted there. Automatic first down.
Again, Marcus Howard, who's missed a lot of time this season with a nasty hamstring injury, is flagged here for this interference.
Yeah, and just for clarification on the call, Marcus Howard can go after the football there, but if Kevin Glenn doesn't have the football, Marcus Howard can't tackle Glenn and prevent Glenn from getting the ball, which is what the ruling was.
Up the gut goes Matt Walter. Marcus Howard just probably wants to hit a quarterback.
No doubt.
It's been a while.
Well, and he had become so accustomed to it last year, joining the Eskimos partway through the season. An instant force here in the CFL, turning in 11 sacks.
J.C. Sherritt was in on that tackle, but not credited with it. Remains 2 away. 1 from tying the all-time record of 129. He has 128. Glenn, pump fake, and then Price again. And brought down, tripped up. And Maurice Price has quickly become a major threat for the Calgary Stampeders.
Well, he sure has, but the guy I want to watch here, is J.C. Sherritt, number 47, right on the left side of your screen. Just ran out of screen because he sees where Kevin Glenn's going with that football. Desperately trying to get there. And this isn't about getting a record for J.C. Sherritt.
He just wants to get the guy.
This is what J.C. Sherritt does on every play all year long.
I'm not even sure he's keeping count right now. I'm sure they told him. Sherritt just wants to make tackles. Romby Bryant, that dump pass, can't bring it in, so it will be 2nd and 10. Game tied at 27 again. Should Calgary win this game, the Edmonton Eskimos' fate is sealed. They play in Toronto next week in the East Division semifinal. Should Edmonton win, coupled with a Saskatchewan loss in BC tomorrow, Edmonton would play Calgary. Battle of Alberta renewed next week in the West Division semifinal. Good protection. Glenn sends out his receivers. And lunging forward, trying to get that first down. First catch made from Chris Bauman here tonight, former Hamilton Tiger Cat.
Bauman spent last year with the Edmonton Eskimos. Been a bit of a big free agent signing for them, but things didn't pan out. Let go after the season. Made his way to Calgary. Former #1 overall pick in the 2007 CFL draft from the University of Regina.
So now, 3rd and a long 1.5. So Rob Maver will hoof this one away. Burnett steps out of bounds. The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Wendy's new Bacon Portobello Mushroom Melt, featuring Applewood smoked bacon, portobello mushrooms, and a melty cheese sauce. Wendy's, now that's better. Matt Nichols has gone the distance. Last week, almost able to pull it out, Dwayne, in Montreal. Last 10 minutes, the Eskimos came up shy against the Alouettes. This week, a team down 17 points has come back, and Nichols could lead his team to victory. Shamad Chambers, quick hitter, slant pattern, picks up about 8 yards.
A combination Eskimo fans hope to see a lot of over the next few years. Nichols to Chambers.
3-minute warning signal to both benches. It'll be 2nd down, short yardage. J.C. Sherritt 2 tackles away. 3 minutes left in the game. Can he also make it a milestone night for himself at Commonwealth Stadium? Brought to you by Mr. Lube, our game story. Get top to bottom maintenance and take good care.
Well, we started with the record watch. Cornish has his. Sherritt closing in on his as time ticks down. A couple receivers. One on each team having a pretty big night here.
The Eskimos, their young quarterback. Plowing forward, barging through. Jerome Messam, showing a little bit of the Jerome Messam 2011 that we got so used to last season.
Yeah, and I'm convinced that Jerome Messam, since coming back from the Miami Dolphins camp at midseason, has been playing at something less than 100%. But here you get a glimpse of Messam at his best. Big, powerful runner.
Carries Carl McCartney for a couple yards. First down. Nichols with a rush on. Pushes it off. Fred Stamps, first down and more.
Fred Stamps with a little shake and bake after the catch. Leaves Quincy Butler in his wake.
Fred Stamps, earlier touchdown. Another 1,000-yard season, a 152-yard night. The story continues to be, though, Matt Nichols. Bulldozes for another first down. 12 yards. This is what's happened this season. Calgary domination. But those first 2 wins came on Grant Shaw misses. Final play of the game.
Run for the next round in this matchup to be in the West semifinal would require Edmonton to win here tonight, and a Saskatchewan loss in their season finale in BC.
Messed him again, not this time. And the possibility still exists if Edmonton should win and Saskatchewan win tomorrow in BC. The East crossover exists, and wouldn't that be a subplot with Ricky Ray, Corey Boyd, all in the subtext of that one? The Eskimos have had their way with the Argonauts this year. Eric Tillman criticized heavily in the offseason for that deal that sent Ricky Ray to Toronto.
A lot of heat, but you know, the funny thing is you look at the Eskimos' offensive numbers, not a big change from last season.
They may have the future here at number 16 as well. Unable to dive for that was Shamad Chambers. The apprenticeship of Matt Nichols. And now Grant Shaw.
This Edmonton Eskimo team, you know, and I mentioned the fact that the offense, despite the Ricky Ray trade, there hasn't been a big change in terms of their output. But this is also a team whose record might have been very different had they been able to pull out some close games, and you may argue that Ricky Ray might have changed the outcome of some of those. Well, now Grant Shaw has an opportunity for a little bit of redemption against the Calgary Stampeders.
Check.
That hole
is botched. And the Eskimos are going to give the ball back. And it has been a nightmare for Grant Shaw. This time it was the hold and the snap. First meeting, a miss. Second meeting, boink off the upright.
Well, and here you'll see Matt Nichols bobbled the snap and couldn't get it on the pin. That one had nothing to do with Grant Shaw. Just snake bitten against the Calgary Stampeders this season.
There was an earlier botched snap in a Calgary game, and Nichols threw a touchdown. Not that time. There was no chance for that. So Nichols hopes for another try here, but the Stampeders now, from their 30, a chance to win this game. J.C. Sherritt, 2 tackles away, picked off, T.J. Hill. There is a late hit on the quarterback, however, and Bo Levi Mitchell in at quarterback. Just got drilled.
Roughing the passer. Edmonton, 15-yard penalty. First down.
Interception taken away. Bo Levi Mitchell at quarterback here. And a late hit. Just as Don Aramission was sliding into him.
Yeah, and you can see why the fans here in Edmonton don't like that one. Aramission down on the ground. Stalwart on this Eskimo defensive line. One guy who's avoided the injury bug all year.
Throwing again. And is it caught? Yes, it is. And fumbled. And the Eskimos have it. Weldon Brown has it. Still has it. Weldon Brown to the 30. Running out of gas. Finally knocked out of bounds. On an absolutely crazy play.
And Joe West is trying to claim that he was down.
Previous play is under review by the command center.
In the last 3 minutes, so no need for a challenge flag as the command center will immediately review.
Bull Levi Mitchell to Joe West. Gets up, slips. Has it stripped. Is he down though? He might have been on one knee.
But was he touched when he was on a knee before the ball came
There
out?
it is down
Ball's
there.
out.
Wow, this is going to be a tough one. He's down already on one knee. Has to be touched. But the touch is a strip.
Exactly. The touch is on the ball and knocks the ball out. Very tight call and open to interpretation as to whether you want to say that the defender, Weldon Brown, grazes his arm as he strips the football and that he's ruled down. But the fact is, it's a strip of a football of a guy who wasn't down yet.
Nobody's touched him until there. You can't see. On top of him was J.C. Sherritt. Ball loose. Brown comes up with it. Yeah, he's basically slapped it right out of his grip right there.
And I'll be perfectly honest, I'm interested to see if the interpretation here is if the touch on the shoulder pads as Brown is on his way to strip the football is going to be ruled a touch that rules Joe West down.
Well, the touch, if you look at it closely, it might have even grazed his shoulder pad before the football.
That's exactly it. He definitely touched the shoulder pad before he touched the ball.
So CFL command conferring. Murray Clark. Watch closely. Okay, here it is, Dwayne. Yeah, it looked like he touched the shoulder pad before the ball.
Yeah, there's no question that he touched the shoulder pad before he touched the ball. This to me is just a matter of interpretation.
Well, on the line here.
Well, it's going to get ugly here if they overturn this one.
Because that would be instant field position for the Stampeders. And very close to the range of Rene Paredes.
There you have the completion. Joe West stumbles. Left knee is down. When Weldon Brown comes by going for the football, but grazes the shoulder pads first. With West's knee down.
Joe West may just get the benefit here. Again, it has to be conclusive.
Well, and I'll tell you the other side of that, Rod. There's a split second there. If we roll that back, where you'll see Joe West's left knee comes up off the turf as he's attempting to get up.
I guess another question is, did Joe West indeed make this catch? Wow. That's close too. That could make it all moot.
Watch the front tip of the ball as to whether that touched the turf or whether he plucked it before that. Very difficult to tell.
Again, the video evidence must be conclusive to overturn the call on the field, which was a fumble and a return. Here it is, the verdict.
After review, the pass is incomplete. It will be Calgary ball, second down at the 45-yard line.
So they're ruling clearly that the front tip of that football hit the turf, that Joe West picked it off the turf.
So now all of that is erased. It will be second down.
The road to the Grey Cup continues tomorrow on TSN. First up at 2:30, the Owls close out the regular season against the Bombers in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame game. It's a star-studded class of 2012 featuring Bomber legend and TSN.
One season.
Classic J.C. Sherritt playing, going sideline to sideline.
So he's tied the record. One more to set a new record.
One of the great effort guys in the Canadian Football League, J.C. Sherritt.
And if you know J.C. Sherritt, he'll say the record's nice. Right now, he wants to put a stop to the Stampeders. 50 seconds, they have a chance to put it in field goal range. Sherritt is one tackle away. Over the top. And there it is! J.C. Sherritt is the all-time single-season tackle record holder. In only his second season in the Canadian Football League.
But you know what my favorite part of this play is? The Calgary Stampeders are marching and got a first down, and the Eskimo defense is so proud of J.C. Sherritt, they're all celebrating.
Well, they better stop celebrating because right now, the Stampeders are moving into field goal position on a record-setting night in Edmonton for both JCs. Calvin Tiggle move over. J.C. Sherritt, you are now #1 single-season tackle record holder. That is a load of tackles.
Yeah, what a remarkable season for J.C. Sherritt. Started with an 11 tackle effort in the season opener, and he's remained on a torrid pace all year long. Bear in mind, he got hurt this year and missed some time as well.
What is even more remarkable is that nobody's been close to that record in 18 years. It was a record that was set in the 90s and in the 80s, where guys routinely had over 100 tackles. Sherritt does it in 2012.
As the Eastern Washington product now goes back to work getting this defense fired up. Another Eastern Washington product, the guy who followed Matt Nichols for the Eagles at quarterback, Bo Levi Mitchell, guides this Stampeder march.
Quite a night for Eastern Washington. Matt Nichols, Bo Levi Mitchell, J.C. Sherritt. And do not tell me that J.C. Sherritt just got hurt on this play. Would that not be a blow?
Watch that right ankle.
Oh, my goodness. And he will go to the sideline immediately. And right now, Rene Paredes, who's had a season as well for the ages, only 4 kickers over 90% in CFL history. Dave Ridgway, Luca Conji, Paul McCallum, Luke Pasaglia, and Rene Paredes for the win, but it's wide, and there was also a whistle.
Edmonton.
They tried to ice Paredes, who will get another chance.
Edmonton Eskimos. Timeout just before the kick. A kick that was missed.
Paredes has not missed much this year. Only 3 misses in the entire season. Almost 93% chance to win this game and confirm the Saskatchewan Roughriders as their opponent next week in the West Division semifinal.
3 misses all year, and now with that timeout, they're counting on him to miss twice in a row from the same spot.
For the win. It's up. It's over. And the Calgary Stampeders win on the final kick of the game. They will meet the Saskatchewan Roughriders next week in the West Division semifinal. Kavis Reed and his Edmonton Eskimos will travel to Toronto and cross over J.C. Sherritt, single season all-time tackle record holder John Cornish, single season all-time rushing leader for Canadian backs. Here's the final kick. And next week, Calgary and Saskatchewan, Toronto and Edmonton. And the biggest question, who will be the starting quarterback for the Eskimos next week in TO? Wild one here, 30-27. The regular season ends for the Stampeders and Eskimos in record-setting fashion on the final play of the game. For Ryan Rishaw, Dwayne Ford, this is Rod Black. Good night, everybody. We'll see you in the postseason. SportsCenter coming your way next.